if your DM wants you to travel to another plane, he's going to provide the means somehow.
You'll have like a cool plane traveling airship or something. You'll
Right.
do spell jamming helm stuff, and you'll build like your own ship and create spelljammer helm to make your own chair.
Ah, no, you won't.
No, you won't. You'll just buy a ship.
Yes. Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're breaking down our picks for the top 5 and one worst level 7 cleric spells. No,
Nope.
warlock spells.
There
Sorry.
you go. Bob, it's
Almost nailed it.
convenient. This is 7 warlock 7th level spells. It's like, I don't know, some kind of demonic rituals put us in this strange messaging of 7 and 7.
Yeah, well, at the time of this recording, anyway.
That's
Who
true.
knows
There
what
might
will
be
come
more.
out later.
Who knows?
I hope there are, because these kind of suck.
There's, I think, 3 that I'm happy to put on my sheet, and then the rest I'm like, I mean, if I have to, my worst genuinely is hard. Like, I don't know which of the 2 should be worse, but we'll probably talk about all 7 today. I have a hunch.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're definitely talking about 6, so yeah, probably all 7.
Yeah.
Um,
Caveat, this is important.
yes.
So, warlocks don't get spell slots, and that includes their Mystic Arcanum. Often they're equated to being upper level spell slots, and that's not what they are. You learn a upper level spell and can cast it once using that specific Mystic Arcanum. So if you pick one of these, that is the only 7th level spell you will ever have. You can switch them out with this feature they added in Touch Call and everything, so you can be like, all right, on level up, I will replace it. But that is what that slot does. It's not even a slot. That's what the Mystic Arcanum does. It's just this spell once per long rest. That is the entirety of the feature. So you have to be very picky because you don't get to like have 3 7th level spells and pick one when you need it. No, you get 1. So make it count.
Yes, and I did try to keep. All right, I say I tried to keep that in mind this time, but didn't really matter. We
There's 7
listed
of
7
them.
spells, and
Yeah.
yeah, I did not have a hard time picking a worst.
I think one of them is as bad as what I believe your worst is. So I guess we'll just talk about all 7. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think I'll keeping the Mystic Arcanum in mind, and having lower level spells available that do damage and stuff. I thought, all right, I want a unique spell for my first pick, and I picked Force Cage.
That's my number 1.
Yeah.
I do 1st through 5. Bob does grab exit, right? Whatever order he
Well,
wants.
this time I kind of I had that in mind. So, yeah, that's going to be my top pick.
I love Force Cage. It's so cool. It's just you make a big box that things can't get out of, and it's invincible, and there's no save. It's just there's a box there now, and sometimes things are stuck in the box. Feels really warlocky. There's something like deeply, demonic, or even like you touched and talked to the Fae and stuff, where you're like trapping things and catching demons and catching Fae, catching celestials, and be like, I now will bind you to my will because I put you in this magic invincible box. I think that's pretty sweet.
And there's that, and it's similar effects to polymorph or banishment if you just want to lock somebody out of a fight for until you deal with their buddies.
Yep. It's the cage can be a box. It can have slits so things can shoot out of it. It can also not have that. You can use this as like a really expensive stool if you need to like step up onto something. This does a lot of things surprisingly, and most of the things that you put in here are not going to get out. And it lasts an hour, and it doesn't take concentration. And those 2 factors compounded on like the rest of what Warlock has to do is really juiced. Like this is the kind of spell where you go, I have my Shadow Spawn up, I have my Create Undead up or whatever, or my Summon Undead up or whatever. I'm just gonna also have a 7th level hour duration spell that locks something else down, or I'm gonna banish those 2 things and then Force Cage another one. And you're like, yeah, 3 of the 5 entities in this fight I have single-handedly removed from the encounter. That's powerful.
Or I mean, I guess if if you got a bunch of spellcasters and ranged attackers, then you could Force Cage yourself and fire out of it.
Yeah, to sit very high up in the air and be like, tee-hee, you can't hit me. It seems like that's less likely a use case, but yeah. Yes. Notably, it is expensive to use. You need to have gotten 1,500 gold worth of ruby dust, but once you have it, it doesn't consume it. So you just gotta like have the ruby dust on you when you make this thing.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 7th level spell. You could probably access ruby
You're
dust
rolling
by
in
that
dough
point.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Crown of Stars, which is an almost identical bonus as far as duration goes, and still doesn't take concentration. You just slap this thing down, and for an hour, you have 40-12 bonus action damages. That's good. You get like too many of them. You get 7, so you just like 1,000,000 damage out of this thing. You stick it on you, and you just let it be forever, and you will have it for all of a dungeon. You'll have it for whenever you need it. It's really, really excellent. It's just great bonus action. If you don't already have a good bonus action, that sounds like a slam dunk to me.
Or if you have a good bonus action, but you don't get to use it every single round.
Yeah.
Then,
And this will last you 3 encounters, no concentration, so it'll stay up regardless. And you can be like, I use my bonus action sometimes. Sometimes I just throw one of my 7 Crown of Stars at it, and that's also great.
Yeah, this also made my list. No surprise there. It's when I was talking about force gauge, I said, all right, I've got enough damaging things to do already, but yeah, not necessarily bonus action damaging things to do. So
why not start stacking more damaging things on top of each other? Then
Sure.
you have even more damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crown of Stars is great. It's one of the more powerful spells printed outside of the player's handbook. So there aren't a lot of spells that are 7th level or higher that I'm like, this got printed somewhere new. That's neat. This is one of the few that's like an actual powerful high level spell that is outside the player's handbook. That's notable.
All right. Those are the 2. Like I had no problems thinking, yeah, they're definitely going on the list. You said you had 3 you're happy about. I didn't get quite that far. This is where I'm just grab bagging it. The rest of these that made my list, I don't care too much about, and that's going to start with etherealness.
It's my number 3. I'm way higher on etherealness than you are. I think this thing's busted.
I mean, level 7 spells. What level warlock are you at this point?
13.
Yeah, I guess there's not necessarily guaranteed you have other ways of doing what etherealness does, but yeah.
Etherealness lasts 8 hours.
That's true.
This is one of the best scouting tools in the game. This is the thing where you have your DM has to create a mini game around the ethereal plane if they want to counteract you doing this and just scouting a whole dungeon, right? You can just become ethereal, go directly inside the walls, and just look into every single room as you're doing it and just take mental notes. But you'd have telepathy set up with somebody with a telepathic bond because we're at that tier. Just send it back. This is what we're seeing, team. And you just scout out the entirety of a layer. And if there aren't ethereal spiders waiting to ambush you, you're just going to be able to go and get perfect information about everything you're about to go into. Here are where the traps are. If we have the time, this is just a free, I know everything about an environment. It's also great as a utility tool just to be like, we need to get it through this wall. Great. I'm going to use this as a giant pass wall where I can get through things as I need to. That's not nothing as an actual
no, not
bonus
nothing.
to this thing.
Just I mean, all the words you're saying make sense, but they're still failing to get me excited.
I think this has the big problem of this spell more than the other ones we talked about. This isn't a spell you're casting every session, and that is a big problem for it because it's the only 7th level spell you get, right? I am going to be probably taking Force Cage and Crown of Stars over this every single time just because I know every single time I have a Force Cage or Crown of Stars, I can use it. I cannot always use Etherealness effectively, and that's where I'm a little bit more like, okay, this isn't something that I'm always going to want for every adventure. It's something I'm going to need for every adventure, but it is a genuinely powerful effect that I think some players would love to use every single adventure of. I do my ethereal in a scouting mission now, DM, and they go, okay, here's the map, here's where everything is, you can see it all, and now can we play the dungeon? And then you're like, yeah, thank you. I got all the information I need, and everyone else is having brunch.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Yeah, it's definitely got its uses. I don't know, that feels like from the Sam perspective that you wouldn't like it though, because
as a DM, I hate it.
Right. Okay.
As a player, I would never put this on my sheet for those kinds of reasons. I find it's kind of gamey and cheaty, but I know players who do really love and engage with this kind of effect. So while it's not for me, I know that it is people that it is for, and that's why it earns this slot as a thing that I would definitely say there are people that will put this on their character sheet and be happy with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you got next?
I am not proud of it. It's Finger of Death.
Yeah, that made mine too.
And it really just is for the zombie. Like, the damage is like, it's not that great a damage, but like maybe you use this every day and just slowly build up an army on top of like some kind of undead warlock build. Maybe.
Probably not though, because this is, Mystic Arcanum, and this is our fourth pick.
This is definitely the one you want. I definitely put Ethereal. I put Ethereal on my sheet before I put this on my sheet.
Yeah, I would too.
And that's not a great place for a 78 plus 30 spell to be. Yeah. I don't see a lot of... Okay, I guess maybe the floor is higher than I'm thinking, right? Because worst case scenario, this is just always a damage spell. And maybe you're in the market for just always having something that does damage. So, like, you can go, I don't need to make the zombie here. I'll just nug that thing for at least 15 plus half of 78 damage. And that's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
Is it
But
an exciting 7th level
if I
spell?
want
No,
just a straight up damage spell, I'm using my Repelling Blast,
sure.
Agonizing Blast, Eldritch Blast.
This probably does more damage than that at a single instance, at least. So that's relevant. Like, you get 3 attacks right now. So it's like 3d10 plus 15. And that's worse than 78 plus 30 by a pretty gigantic margin. I guess
But
like
I
2
knocked
rounds
this
of it.
dude 30 feet back, which is
okay.
more exciting for me than it is for you.
Yeah. Assuming you hit, sure.
Yeah.
At least this sometimes give you a Constellation Zombie. Is that Constellation Zombie useful? No, but you got one.
If you are building an army of undead and you've got other undead summoning spells, and this just pads out a little bit, then
The
could be
problem is,
fun.
like, zombies blow. Like,
Yeah.
they're awful. They go so slowly. They have like a +1 to hit. They're not doing anything effectively.
They're setting off traps.
Very slowly,
Yeah.
I guess. Not like magical traps. Like, you're not gonna be able to send them like you can't take them with you a lot of the time if you have to fly places. You can't take them. It's hard to take them with you if you're teleporting places. Like, this is getting to a tier where Animate Dead starts to be clunky. It's like, how do I ferry these 12 skeletons with me everywhere? It's like a real logistical hassle. And now this is an even worse logistical hassle because you don't care to bring it because it's so bad.
Yeah. If there's like a seesaw and you're trying to get up a wall, the zombies could stand on one side.
Sure. So can corpses. You could just lug the body around.
Ah.
Yeah, that's my number 4. That's not a great place to be, huh?
No, not
it's
great.
Fine. Maybe we're too mean to finger death. It's fine. It's fine.
So yeah, that leaves us with 3 left. I think you know my worst, and the 2 that are remaining are kind of the same or similar. Yeah, for my number 5, I chose Plane Shift.
The better of the by a lot. Like, there is another spell on this list that we're going to talk about that is this, but a lot worse. Like, substantially worse. This also has the text, you can banish unwilling creatures. So this can be just a 7th level banishment in a pinch, which is a real mode. Like, that is, I think, more likely if you have this on a character sheet as a Warlock, you'll use it as like a I'm the Wizard briefly, where we're going to different worlds. We need to get to the Plane of Fire, we need to get to the Abyss, we need to get to wherever. You become the one that does the plane shift. But then you also, more realistically, when you're adventuring in the Abyss, when you're adventuring in the City of Brass, you use plane shift to say, go away. And then it's a 7th level banishment? Yeah. You have to touch it, which is a bummer, but...
Can you... I'm trying to look it up right now, but can you use this to go to the ethereal plane?
The ethereal plane is weird, and the answer to that question is I don't know. I'm going to say probably not.
Okay.
The ethereal plane isn't like an actual plane of existence. It's just sort of... It's like a hybrid thing. It's... The etherealness puts you there, and it's just like the real world, but a shadowy reflection of it. I don't think plane shift like takes you to the shadowy reflection of the real world. Like, I think it just takes you to other worlds. Yeah. I really think the ethereal plane needs overhauled mechanically because it being a plane doesn't make any sense with every other plane that exists as just places. Like, planes are functionally to D&D are planets, and the ethereal plane is the one exception, and that's an issue.
And yeah, all right, that's when you explain them as just planets, that makes a lot more sense to me, because before, ethereal plane was the only one I could kind of wrap my head around.
The planes are just other worlds, and the ethereal plane is the weird one.
See, I think no, the ethereal plane is the one that makes sense, and the other ones shouldn't be called planes. They should just be called other worlds.
Sure, I think that's reasonable. I just have it so embedded in my brain that planes are just planets that I think of planes as these other physical spaces.
Yeah.
I don't know. The nerds in the 80s got really weird with it when they just did the planar cosmology stuff. In any case, I don't think you should take Plane Shift as your Mystic Arcanum. I think it's a mistake. I think more often than not, you're going to have scrolls that do this, or your DM will give you a Plane Shift staff or something. And you really never want to have to use the mode of I touch a thing, it makes a save. I make an attack against a thing in melee range. Then if I hit it, it makes a save. And then if it fails the save, it leaves existence. That's just a worse banishment with like 5 extra steps. And that's kind of what you're taking most of the time whenever you put Plane Shift with your Mystic Arcanum slot. It's my number 5.
Well, the other issue is, like if your DM wants you to travel to another plane, he's going to provide the means somehow.
You'll have like a cool plane traveling airship or something. You'll
Right.
do spell jamming helm stuff, and you'll build like your own ship and create spell jammer helm to make your own chair.
No, you won't.
No, you won't. You'll just buy a ship.
Yes. But the flip side of that issue, if you take this and your DM doesn't plan on having you go to different planes, then you're just being a pain in his ass.
Yeah, you have to give him a giant finger and be like, see, a nerd, I don't want to do this adventure anymore. Let's go see what Arborea has for us.
Yeah.
Beastlands, what's that? Let's go, team, and find out. But the DM is like, but the dragon. And they go, fuck the dragon. I'm going to go see the Beastlands. That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't take this. This is my honorable. I would say this is my 3rd worst, not my 5th best.
Yes. That's about right. Yeah. Well, are we 5 for 5 then?
There's only 7.
Yeah, still. Yeah, considering the last 2, that's not as impressive as it could be.
There's a worse version of Plane Shift, and then there's one of the worst spells in the game. Those are what we have left. So, like, what do you want to talk about?
We might as well just cover them all. If you feel like
I'll do the one you don't.
If you want to maintain the integrity of this channel and choose that one as your worst. Otherwise, who cares? All right.
Yeah.
My worst was Power Word Pain.
That's a good worst.
All right. What's the limit on hit points? Is it like 100?
100 or fewer. It auto affects it. The effect it gives it is that speed can't be higher than 10 and has disadvantage on everything. I'm sorry, disadvantage on everything except Constitution saving throws. And if it tries to cast a spell, it makes a con save or fails.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, this is a 7th level spell.
It sure is.
If your target has 100 hit points or fewer, just kill it.
Finger of Death will at least nugget for 50.
Yeah.
On top of that, like, this is just a worse version of Hold Monster, but like this sometimes randomly won't work. Like Hold Monster, you could at least shape the save to know it's going to occur, and you can upcast to hit 3 things at this point with Hold Monster. I think it's Hold Monster. Is that their 5th or 7th level? And then you can like actually paralyze it, and paralyzing it is so much better of a condition than this is. It can't move that well, but it still takes actions. It still does stuff. It still can use spell-like abilities at no cost or problem whatsoever. If you got a Dragon Breath, it goes, oh, cool, I'll just use my Breath Weapon this turn and have exactly no downside imposed on me from this. None whatsoever. A lot of monsters, like Mind Flayer, will just Mind Blast, and you'll all go, oh, Power Word Pain, even though it had less than 100 hit points, did stone nothing. And it's a 7th level Saver Die. It's so bad. This thing is terrible.
And the Saver Die isn't even attached to do they make a saving throw?
They do at the end of each of their turns, not when they initially cast.
Oh, okay.
Initially, just goes, do they have 100 or less? If so, it works.
Yeah, that's another thing. Well, all these Power Word spells, if you don't know where its hit points currently are, then you're gambling on it just not doing straight up nothing. And if you're pretty confident that it's got fewer than 100 hit points, just kill it.
Yeah, this is the kind of effect where like you need to know it has exactly 100 hit points. And if you know it has exactly 100 hit points, you're in one of 2 situations. One, you have a categorical recollection of every monster in the game, or you're checking every monster in the game's hit point total against your DM, keeping them secret. Or your DM is sharing it out in the open. If your DM is sharing it out in the open, in either case, honestly, the window where this thing goes from like having 200 some hit points to exactly 100 is so tiny. It's very likely getting blown to 20 above or 20 below. And that either of those ranges, this either doesn't work or you'd rather do other things. If you take this on a Warlock, this is literally the only 7th level spell you get. It's so bad, Bob.
painfully bad.
It literally is painfully bad. The power word mechanic for the bad stuff has to be revised because its current situation is gamey and really it can add a lot of like, are you cheating to your players because it gives them reason to want to cheat if you're not sharing information with them. It is bad. It's bad and it leads to frustrations. And like, imagine you are the player that goes, well, we've killed these things before. I've been counting how much damage we've been doing to it. I know it should have less than 100 hit points right now. You cast it, and your GM goes, nope, it has got more than that. And you go, but that's not what the math checks out as. And then there's some frustrations, and you're bad out of shape because you wasted 7th level spell slot. Like, it's a whole ordeal.
Yeah, or you could have force caged this thing. If the intent was to slow it down.
You could just monster it.
Yeah.
You could just cast 24 other spells that just do this but better at cheaper costs. Hot trash, garbage, awfulness. Yeah. Anyway, there's another one that's really bad. It's called Dream of the Blue Veil. This is one of the ones that was released in Todd's Called and everything that is an example of how not to make upper level spells. Because this is like where plane shift is, you go to a world within the D&D universe. Dream of the Blue Veil is like, what if instead we went to a different game setting altogether? And you go to like Redwall or Magic or, you know, somewhere that isn't Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Because it takes you to other worlds like Orith or Chiron or Eberron, as opposed to where you currently are. But you have to have an object from that world for this to work at all. And like, you have to spend 10 minutes casting it, and you kind of like float out. It's almost like astral projection in a way. It's terrible. This spell doesn't need to exist. I don't know why it does exist. It's just complete and utter trash.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's I guess trying to figure out what they were thinking. Maybe like I thought, ooh, what if they want to play in a different setting and, you know, just have it there? You don't need a spell to let you break that rule.
It's really weird to me that like you get to 13th level and you go, okay, DM, I know we've been really building up and doing the big long campaign and we are in it for the long haul. We got to 13th level. We are committed to now just jumping into upper tier play, right? 13th level is really where you're leaving the mid tiers and you're getting into the big splashy 7th, 8th, 9th level spells. These are where people are getting their most bananas features. And then the DM goes, I don't like the setting anymore, guys. Why don't we just do the top end stuff in Eberron? And everyone goes, what? We've been here. We've got invested in the world. We've done the roleplay things. We've saved people. We have a castle, and now we're just leaving. And the DM goes, "Yeah, this is a lame place. Let's just keep the same characters and move them to another world." A, you don't need a spell to do that. B, the fact that they made a spell to do that is dumb.
And C, the bigger issue is that it's the players making this decision, not the DM.
Yeah, that's well. To cast a spell, you must have a magic item that originated from the world that you wish to go to. So your GM does have to give you the way to get there. Otherwise, you're just stranded. So it is actively unusable on most character sheets.
Could you imagine taking this spell and no, I'm not going to give you an item from another world.
Right? Like, why would I?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah,
actively uncastable. Maybe that makes it worse than Power Word Pain, because Power Word Pain actually can do something. I was
just wondering that, but
Moral story, don't put these on your character sheet?
I'll go for almost equally bad, but no. Power Word Pain is a special place of hatred in my heart.
Me too.
All right.
There's every 7th level spell in the game ranked.
Yeah, there you go.
For Warlocks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Let us know if you disagree. Maybe.
Yeah, please let us know in the comments your
if
opinion.
If Power Word Pain makes your top 5, I'd love to know over what. I really would. If it's both Plane Shift and Dream of the Blue Veil, I could kind of get it. But I think Plane Shift is like actually a usable effect that a lot of tables expect to use. And I don't think you should ever cast Power Word Pain. So next week we have one fewer spell to talk about because there's only 6 8th level ones.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what your opinions are down in the comments and your own list. And we'll like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.